Good afternoon. Please be seated. And to our guests, welcome to the University of Texas at Dallas. My name is Verghese Jacob. I'm the interim graduate dean, and it is my honor to welcome all of you, the doctoral candidates, the faculty mentors, families, and friends to this special doctoral hooding ceremony. Now, doctoral candidates, you have achieved a major milestone. Today, you have switched, if you will, from being students to being our colleagues. This is a tremendous accomplishment, and I congratulate you on it. You have achieved this milestone not only because of your intellectual capabilities, but despite any obstacles that may have stood in your way, you stayed determined and completed an important piece of original research. You showed faith in yourselves and in the importance of your ideas. You exercised self-discipline, made personal sacrifices, and your degree is a true recognition of this perseverance. It has been a privilege to be part of your academic journey to date, and I wish you the very best in your future endeavors. It is now my distinct pleasure to introduce to you the Executive Vice President of the University of Texas at Dallas, Dr. Hobson Wildenthal. Dr. Wildenthal needs no introduction to anybody at UT Dallas or anyone who knows or is familiar with the UT Dallas history. In over 20 years, his academic leadership has been instrumental in UTD's phenomenal growth and its current status as a Tier 1 research institute, research university. Please join me in welcoming our Executive Vice President, Dr. Hobson Wildenthal.
Thank you, Verghese. It's truly a pleasure to have the opportunity to be with all of you this afternoon. First and foremost, our graduating doctoral students and their mentors, dissertation advisors, and of course, some very happy people, families and friends of our graduates, and my administrative colleagues on the stage with me. Research, doctoral education are the oldest traditions of the University of Texas at Dallas. Even before there was a building, we had professors and doctoral students. And while we'll be celebrating our 50th anniversary in a year or two, it'll be ambiguous which year, that history goes back considerably beyond 50 years, back into 1963 and 64. I've had the pleasure recently of reading some memoirs of some of our original faculty leaders back in the 60s. At any rate, you graduates today are the very great descendants of a great tradition of doctoral education at the University of Texas at Dallas before and after it became a university. You invested your confidence in the University of Texas at Dallas when you embarked upon your PhD journey. We invested a little confidence in you, our hope, and we were both, I hope, fulfilled in our hopes and expectations. Henceforth, you're going to be some of our primary ambassadors to the greater world. And in some sense, what we all strive for in academia is reputation, our individual reputations as scholars and teachers, and our collective reputations as institutions. And there are many things that contribute to that reputation, but certainly the performance you as our PhD graduates make in the outer world will be very, very fundamental to the long-term reputation of the University of Texas at Dallas. So we're counting on you to help us still more. And of course, as our reputation grows over the years, you will share a little bit of that reflected glory by virtue of having your diploma on the wall that says University of Texas at Dallas. I hope I hope your friends and family realize that when you embarked on PhD studies and have completed them, that you were not probably aiming to leave a huge bequest to the university later on. That's not a law of nature that you'll never make a lot of money as a PhD, but you probably could have chosen other paths had that been your primary goal rather than understanding and gaining knowledge and creating knowledge. But reputations count, yours and ours, and we look forward to you benefiting from ours and you helping us increase ours. I'll end with one of the nicest true stories that happened to me over the last several years as we have gotten to be bigger and better known and better intrinsically. I was interviewing a somewhat mid-career assistant professor candidate in engineering 3 years ago, and we had a very nice conversation, including the fact that his son was going to be a freshman at UT Dallas, which is not our usual assistant professor candidate. But I mentioned about our decades-long ambition to be a true national force in higher education and research. And I said that one of the lagging indicators is people's knowledge of us and our reputation. And I said, you know, we're just not as well known as we ought to be because we're really better than the world understands. And he said, no, you're making progress. When I was interviewing for a job on the East Coast last month, someone asked me, where did I get my PhD? And I said, well, I got my PhD at the University of Texas. And they responded, at Austin or Dallas? And truthfully, that's one of the most enjoyable conversations I've had ever. So let's hope that as you go forth, you'll get some of those same questions. And if not, make sure that they know they went to the right place. So now it's my pleasure to introduce my many colleagues here on the stage with me. Dr. John Gooch, Associate Dean in Arts and Humanities, representing Arts and Humanities. John. Dr. Lisa Bell, Associate Dean, standing in for Arts and Technology and Emerging Communication. James Bartlett, Interim Dean of Behavioral and Brain Science. And also our guest speaker, we're doing double duty with Jim today. Dr. Jennifer Holmes, Interim Dean of Economic, Political, and Policy Sciences. Dr. Porras Balsara, Interim Dean, Johnson School of Engineering and Computer Science. Dr. George Fair, Dean of Interdisciplinary Studies. Dr. Hassan Perkul, Dean of the Jindal School of Management. Dr. Bruce Novak, Dean of the School of Natural Sciences and Mathematics. And members of the Graduate Council, Dr. Catherine Parsoneau, Interim Associate Dean of A&H. Dr. Kim Knight, Associate Dean, Graduate Programs in Arts, Technology, and Emerging Communications. Dr. Alex Picaro, Associate Dean of Graduate Programs and EPS. Dr. Reza Moameni, Acting Associate Dean for Academic Affairs in Johnson School. Again, Dr. George Fair, Dean of Interdisciplinary Studies. And Dr. Juan Gonzalez, Associate Dean of Graduate Studies, Natural Sciences and Mathematics. And representing BBS, Dr. Francesca Philby. And representing Jindal School, Dr. Sumit Sakar. And also on stage, my longtime colleague, Dr. Mary Leaf, Speaker of the Faculty Senate. And Jennifer McDowell, our University Registrar. And finally, our University Orator for today's ceremony, Dr. Robert Pearson, Director of Graduate Career Services. And now, it doesn't say so, but I'm going to turn it back to Dr. Jacob.
Today it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Francesca Philby, who will then introduce our speaker. Dr. Francesca Philby holds the Burt Moore Chair in Brain Health and is also the program head of Cognition and Neuroscience in the School of Behavioral and Brain Sciences at the University of Texas at Dallas. Dr. Philby is one of the leading researchers in the area of cognitive neuroscience of addiction. Please help me in welcoming Dr. Francesca Philby.
It is truly my honor to introduce our speaker today, Dr. James Bartlett. Dr. Bartlett is the fitting speaker for today because of his significant impact to the University of Texas at Dallas and the University of Texas system as a whole. Dr. Bartlett is currently the Dean of the School of Behavioral and Brain Sciences and is an Ashbel Smith Professor. Prior to that, he was the Associate Dean of Graduate Programs and was the area head for Cognition and Neuroscience program. What many may not know is that Dr. Bartlett has been here for over 40 years. He has truly shaped not just behavioral and brain sciences, but also the University of Texas at Dallas. When he arrived in 1975, was the same year that we first accepted undergraduate students, and there were 300 of them. He has also long served the UTD community, acting as part of the UTD Academic Senate and also other important committees. In terms of his service to the University of Texas system, he has both served as a member and as chair of the University of Texas System Faculty Advisory Council. Dr. James Bartlett is also highly prolific in his field of expertise. He is a trained cognitive psychologist and is a leading researcher in the area of human perception and memory. His work concerns brain processes involved in perception and the recognition of faces as compared to complex stimuli. He's also been investigating age-related differences in memory from music, faces, and face name associations. He's so renowned that his expertise is well sought out in the community, especially in the reliability of eyewitness testimony, as well as its impact in aging. His work has been funded by national institutions, including the National Science Foundation and the National Institutes of Health. So please help me welcome Dr. James Bartlett.
Thank you, Francesca, for, if I may say so, an overly generous introduction, but I appreciate it. I'm here to congratulate all of you on earning your doctoral degrees. You've passed a major milestone in your professional lives and your personal lives as well. This achievement will be a key part of your profile for the rest of your lives, and it is a great pleasure for me to help celebrate this wonderful event. For the remainder of my remarks today, I will ask a few questions, mostly rhetorical questions, and none you need answer, but I hope they'll illustrate, we'll be able to illustrate what lies behind them. And I'll try to flesh this out with a few stories that I will share with you. I hope these stories have some interest, or at least that I do not ramble on too long before we get on with the more important business of confirming your degrees. My first question, who among you is happy to be earning, at long last, your doctoral degree? This is indeed a rhetorical question. I really have no doubt as to the answer. But let me add the comment that your happiness at this time will be repeated quite often in the future months and years. Your doctoral degree is a valuable possession that no one can take from you, and it will help you in countless ways as you develop your careers and consider new opportunities in your fields of interest. As a professional door opener into new endeavors, whether they be in teaching, research, business, government, or virtually any other area, a doctoral degree from a great university like UT Dallas is among the very best. Question number 2. This one's not rhetorical, but there's no need to answer it to anyone but yourself. In fact, you probably have already asked this question of yourself. Nonetheless, please consider it again. Were there times in your graduate student years when you feared you may not finish? Well, I certainly experienced such times. No doubt some of you in this room today found the path to degrees steady, if not necessarily easy, and even enjoyable for most of the time. Well, for those of you I say, you are the lucky ones. For many of us, and I include myself, the work sometimes was a slog, difficult, and fraught with a good deal of stress and sometimes even emotional pain. Certainly even the luckiest of you experienced some tests of what I, as a psychologist, like to call ego strength. One story I will share from my graduate days occurred in a doctoral seminar on human memory directed by a major figure in the field. He's still around. His name is Endel Tulving. He's a National Academy of Sciences sort of person, major figure, and has been so for many years. Each student was to give a 2-hour talk on research being done in a specific research area, critically analyzing what had been learned and had not been learned, and proposing ways that our research in this area might progress. Being rather an eager beaver and wanting very much to impress my professor, I volunteered to give the first presentation. I worked feverishly for weeks, trying to learn everything relevant about the area I was covering, mastering all the various details of methods, analytical techniques, findings, and conclusions. Finally, the day came, and I gave my presentation, going a bit overtime for perhaps 2.5 hours. God forgive me, with one break, thankfully. At the end, my professor thanked me for my presentation, but then stated that because I was the first to present, he wanted to use my talk as an example to use as a basis for discussion of what he did and did not want in future presentations. And then he went on to make it crystal clear that my presentation was not what he wanted. As he pointed out with alarming pointedness and clarity, he was not interested in presentations which simply saved others the bother of reading the literature for themselves. Rather, he was interested in new ideas that had the potential of significantly advancing a field of research. In sum, I was reporting. He wanted a contribution to knowledge. Well, this was certainly devastating, but looking back, it was one of the best things that happened in my entire graduate career. Having mastered the literature and patched together what remained of my ego, I later proposed an experiment at one of our department brown bags. And I proposed an experiment that might carry things further. Actually, my professor was interested. He kind of toyed with me for a bit, asking me how I thought I had done. Finally, after letting me twitch, stating that actually he thought I had done wonderfully. And in fact, he was interested in helping me pursue this experiment if were I interested. He was not my advisor, but nonetheless, he put together some resources to let me carry the whole thing out. We wound up publishing this in a very good journal, just my name with Endel Tulving's name beside. And I have no doubt that this article helped me and get my first job, this at a brand new institution called the University of Texas at Dallas. And this was 1975, and I've been here ever since. So what's my point? Well, earning a doctorate is a process, and sometimes pain is part of the process. But when one is working hard and is aware of the standards that are needed for legitimate success, things have a way of working out. You just have to get up and keep moving. Question 3, which is closely related to question 2. Who of you in your graduate career experienced a bit of imposter syndrome? Forgive my use of a psychological term, but imposter syndrome refers to a feeling that one is not really qualified to have the position they are in. Whether that is in an academic program, a professional job, or even a member of a prestigious country club in Dallas. Not that I am or ever will be in that particular position. Well, certainly I had imposter syndrome. I somehow was able to gain admission into one of the best graduate schools in my field in the country. I was very proud at first, but not for very long. After arriving and meeting some of my peers, so-called, I was taken aback to say the least. Many were already published, had knowledge of mathematical areas and analytical techniques of which I had no clue. Another had worked for a few years at one of the premier industrial research institutions in the entire country, which is Bell Labs. He'd been there for 2 or 3 years before wanting to join graduate school, having earned excessively more money than many of our senior professors while pursuing that role. Okay. He was an impressive guy. In fact, he remains impressive. He's currently a distinguished professor at Rice, and he's a former provost at Brown University. An impressive guy all around, and he's one of these people I just happened to meet on the first day that I arrived. Well, that's intimidation, despite the fact that he was entirely friendly and welcoming. I won't go on with a long story here, but it suffices to say that in many situations, graduate school and more importantly beyond, I found it is your peers who can be the best teachers and the most inspirational mentors. They are often the best examples of how to succeed in challenging circumstances. Your doctoral degree will allow you to mingle professionally with inspirational peers. They can help you as much or perhaps even more than your most attentive boss or supervisor or your dean. Indeed, I think that one of the very best reasons to earn a doctoral degree is that it helps you find situations where you work with great peers. By the way, you might ask, can it be that great peers sometimes have a certain degree of arrogance, that they might believe they're better than you, more knowledgeable, more imaginative, maybe just plain smarter than you? Well, yes, that can be so. But starting with my experience in graduate school, I've learned a little lesson for myself that I think might work for other people too, in graduate school and beyond. Here it is. If you are lucky enough to be working with and around really great peers, people who are doing great work, and if you are able to cooperate productively and get along with them, well, just enjoy the ride. Try not to worry for even 1 nanosecond what they think about your talent. It's not very likely they have much insight into your inner qualities and strengths anyway. And also, it usually does not matter that much. At the end of the day, it is the work that matters. And having great peers helps you do great work. And it helps your peers do great work too. Question number 4. Who of you has had some trouble, perhaps just a wee bit of trouble, with academic writing? Arriving in graduate school, I had the delusion that despite a number of gaps in my competencies, at least I could write. Indeed, I maintained this delusion through several graduate courses and seminars, and even through working with my advisors on manuscripts to submit to journals. But to my horror, I found that working solo on a written dissertation proposal, and later on the dissertation itself, well, this was really an entirely different matter. In my first feedback meeting with my dissertation advisor, I do not believe I had ever seen so much red ink. Why do you say this? Have you actually read the literature you're referring to? It's not obvious. And why do you refer to this theory? Don't you know if you bring up that theory, readers will think you intend to test it. And when they find that your proposed research will not actually test it, well, you can guess the rest. And why do you always use the passive voice? It is weak and often vague. If it is widely believed that such and such is the case, you should state in the active voice who believes this and why they do. I will not linger on this story, as I believe many, if not all of you, have relevant stories of your own. My point is that getting through a dissertation, for many of us, is a crash course in writing. And the payoffs of this crash course are considerable indeed. To be able to write forcefully, clearly, persuasively, is one of the most valuable and highly valued skills an educated person in our society can have. If you have struggles with writing and managed to earn your doctoral degree anyway, you have attained a level of skill that will serve you well. Keep building on it. Believe me, the more you write, the better you write. And if it continues to feel difficult, if it rarely seems easy even after several years, well, that is probably because your standards are rising along with your skills. And that's a good thing. Question 5. This is a tough one, but I think most of you agree it's real. Who of you felt that in some point in your dissertation work that your project was trivial, of minimal importance, maybe even boring? Well, I certainly did, several times. If this happened to you, a very likely reason is simply that completing a dissertation takes so very, very long. Just about anything that takes that long can seem boring if you keep working on it for so many hours and with so much effort, for so many days and so many weeks and months for that matter. If you're bored with your dissertation at the moment or would be in the recent past, that could well be simply due to the long, difficult hours you spent getting it done, not the quality of what you produced. But there's another thing. While I seriously doubt that anyone here produced a trivial or unimportant dissertation, it may well be the case that in the course of your career, your dissertation will not stand out as your most important work. Those of you who have careers in research will produce the equivalent of many dissertations, and it's highly likely that the project you just finished will not stand out as the finest of the lot. One reason is simply the laws of probability. If you wind up doing 20, 30, 50 dissertations, how likely it is that the first one was really the best. But another factor is expertise. Psychologists have done a great deal of research on expertise, and one rule of thumb is called the 10-year rule. To acquire one's peak expertise in any given field, be it chess, musical composition, scientific research in a particular area, generally at least 10 years of concentrated effort seems to be required. The great composer Mozart, by the way, is no exception. He says he started very early composing. You can look at his career. There's been various studies done. He did not produce his very best work until many, many years later. Some have called him quite possibly a rather slow bloomer when you compare him to other geniuses. So most of you have been at your chosen field for less than 10 years, perhaps a lot less for those of us who maybe are slow decision makers with certain problems in making long-term commitments. That includes me, by the way. But anyway, so the point is that as good as you are now, you can count on getting better as long as you keep working at it. Of course, many of you will pursue careers that do not involve hands-on research. Still, I would argue that the same 10-year principle applies. What winds up being your very best work will be based on many years of concentrated effort, at least several more years than a stint in graduate school. But that is good. That is good because your best, not just the best is yet to come, your best is yet to come. Question 6. How many have discovered in the course of writing your dissertation, or perhaps since it was accepted by your committee some weeks ago, that something you believed and argued for was wrong? Well, when this happens, it certainly is concerning, and it definitely has happened to me. It's as if the ground's shifting under your feet. However, a couple of points. Discovering you were wrong and why you were wrong can be one of the most powerful learning experiences it is possible to have. And I can tell you from experience, it is seldom the calamity it seems to be at first. And I know this because in my career, I've been wrong quite a lot. In my case, my first being wrong experience, at least the first big one, did not involve my dissertation. And that might be because my dissertation, though I published it well in a good journal, was never cited all that much. The good way to protect yourself from being discovered to be wrong is simply to be ignored. It works, it's very effective. But rather, what happened was involved one of my first major publications on work that I conducted with my students here at UT Dallas in my first years here. Within a year when my article was published in 1980, I saw it cited in an article by a young rising star in research psychology and a recent graduate student, himself a soon-to-be rising star. In fact, these two rising stars not only cited my work, the first several words of the abstract of their paper were, and I quote, Bartlett, Hurry, and Thorley, 1980. My name is Bartlett. All right, so it was about me, right, and my colleagues. Well, of course, I was delighted at first, but as I began to read the article, I realized quite quickly that the whole point of their paper was that we were wrong. And they reported 2 experiments that they argued with disconcerting persuasiveness showed that we were wrong. This, of course, was not a fun time for me. The authors were young but already prominent, and they made a good case. I might note that both of these professors have had long, distinguished careers in research psychology, and that one of them, her name is Vicky Bruce, is a distinguished professor at Newcastle University in Britain, having recently stepped down from the position of head of the College of Humanities and Social Science at the University of Edinburgh. In fact, she is a widely known academic star in Britain, having recently been appointed a Dame Commander of the British Empire. I love that title. At the Queen's birthday celebration a few years ago. So it was quite a major figure. So what happened? Was my career destroyed? On the contrary, it wound up being considerably enhanced. All right. In the first place, we weren't entirely wrong. I beg so. Rather, we had stated our conclusions too broadly, somewhat too broadly as it turned out, and they needed to be revised. In the second place, one generally doesn't get criticized in this way unless the work is considered important. The work was important, if I do say so myself, and it continues to be cited in the research literature some 38 years after it originally appeared. Why? Because we were one of the first to ask a new research question with important implications, both theoretical and applied. Did we get things exactly right? Of course not. But we helped to open a new avenue of research still going on today. Okay? So let me conclude. Let me see, I think sorry, you have one more page to get through. As do I. The point, do not be too afraid of being wrong now and again. You learn a lot in your recovery from your wrong ideas, and in addition, being wrong is often the price one pays for doing something new. Question 8, and this is my last. Despite the difficult, long work hours, bouts of imposter syndrome, threats to ego strength, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, how many of you feel better, stronger, more accomplished for having earned your doctoral degree? I'd like you to raise your hands for this one. I hope a lot of you do, okay? Well, I certainly did, and I hope you do as well, because you certainly deserve to feel just that way. For most of us, it is not very often in life that one is tested, judged, compared to others with respect to your performance on a long-term project that to a large extent you completed on your own. You were tested in this way, and you passed all these tests, and this is why we're here to congratulate you. There's another psychological concept I can't resist inserting here at the end. It's called self-efficacy. Self-efficacy is the belief that if you work hard in pursuing a goal, giving it your best and not giving up, getting knocked down a bit but then getting up again, you will ultimately achieve something worthwhile. This is not the same thing as having a large inflated ego. It has little to do with your self-perceptions of intelligence, creativity, charm, or whatever. Rather, it's the knowledge that a challenge can be met and overcome if only one does the work. Self-efficacy is very important in life, and it gives us the will to proceed when things get tough. And I believe you all have it, as having successfully completed your doctoral work. There is strong evidence that you do. So now I can conclude. You are to be congratulated. This is partly for the products, your dissertations that you have produced. Perhaps more important, you are to be congratulated also for what producing these products says about you. Your skills, your growing expertise, your ego strength, your work ethic and stamina, your commitment and stick-to-itiveness, and your self-efficacy. Let the light shine on you. Enjoy this special day.
Dr. Pearson, our orator for today's ceremonies, will ask the Graduate Council representative from each school to come forward and introduce their doctoral candidates and Hooding professors. But first, he's going to provide you with a brief history of the regalia all of you are wearing. Cheers.
Before we begin the hooding ceremony itself, I'd like to tell you something about the regalia you're going to wear for the rest of your academic career. Doctoral robes have 3 velvet stripes on each sleeve and often feature the colors of the universities in which they were earned. The hood you will receive today has its origins in medieval Europe, when it was adopted for use by monks, clergy, university students, all of whom used it not only as a covering for the head and shoulders, but also to hold alms and money. By the 15th century, it had come to be seen as a symbol of graduation and taken on distinctive colors and materials. The modern doctoral hood is about 4 feet long with a 5-inch velvet edging, which at this university is dark blue to signify the Doctor of Philosophy degree, or golden yellow for the Doctor of Science. The hood you will shortly be wearing is lined with university colors of orange, green, and white. These were chosen by the university's first president and his assistant in 1971. The conferral of this hood will distinguish you among other scholars as a University of Texas at Dallas graduate. I now invite Dr. Gooch, Associate Dean of Arts and Humanities, to come forward and assist the Executive Vice President and Dr. Parsono, Assistant Dean, to call each candidate.
Will Miguel Marrero, certified candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Humanities, please come forward? Dr. Marrero will be hooded by Dr. Wilson. will Jennifer Dawson Kramer, certified candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Humanities, Studies in Literature, please come forward? Dr. Kramer will be hooded by Dr. Murphy.
I now invite Dr. Bell, Associate Dean of Arts, Technology, and Emerging Communication, to come forward and assist the Executive Vice President, and Dr. Knight, Associate Dean, to call each candidate.
Will Priyanka Sharma, certified candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Arts and Technology, please come forward? Dr. Sharma will be hooded by Dr. Sheesh.
I now invite Dr. Bartlett, Interim Dean of Behavioral and Brain Sciences, to come forward and assist the Executive Vice President, and Dr. Philby, Program Head, to call each candidate.
Will Christopher Andrew DeSalis, certified candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Cognition and Neuroscience, please come forward? Dr. DeSalis will be hooded by Dr. Plosky. Will Julie Marie Fratantoni, certified candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Communication Sciences and Disorders, please come forward? Dr. Fratantoni will be hooded by Dr. Hart. Will Hannah Dean Prochot Neal, certified candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Communication Sciences and Disorders, please come forward? Dr. Prochot Neal will be hooded by Dr. Warner Sizz.
I now invite Dr. Holmes, Interim Dean of the School of Economic, Political, and Policy Sciences, to come forward and assist the Executive Vice President, and Dr. Picaro, Associate Dean, to call each candidate.
Will Maisa Chanel Applewhite, certified candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Criminology, please come forward? Dr. Applewhite will be hooded by Dr. Boots. Will Kwang Soo Kim, certified candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Economics, please come forward. Dr. Kim will be hooded by Dr. Sewell. Will Stephen Manley, certified candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Political Science, please come forward. Dr. Manley will be hooded by Dr. Elliott. Will Sujin Min, certified candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Public Policy and Political Economy, please come forward. Dr. Min will be hooded by Dr. Elliott. Will Ji Won Soo, certified candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Public Affairs, please come forward. Dr. Soo will be hooded by Dr. Battaglio.
I invite Dr. Balsara, Interim Dean of the Eric Johnson School of Engineering and Computer Science, to come forward and assist the Executive Vice President, and Dr. Mohemani, Acting Associate Dean, to call each candidate.
Will Satyana Rayanan Sridhar, certified candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Biomedical Engineering, please come forward. Dr. Sridhar will be hooded by Dr. Rodriguez. Will Swarup Ramachandra, certified candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Computer Science, please come forward. Dr. Chandra will be hooded by Dr. Khan. Will Jyotirmoy Banik, certified candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Electrical Engineering, please come forward. Dr. Banik will be hooded by Dr. Razo. Will Mohsen Zafarani, certified candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Electrical Engineering, please come forward. Dr. Zafarani will be hooded by Dr. Bilal Akin. Will Peng Zhao, certified candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Electrical Engineering, please come forward. Dr. Zhao will be hooded by Dr. Young. Will Qian Zhong, certified candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Electrical Engineering, please come forward. Dr. Zhong will be hooted by Dr. O. Will Aaron Dangerfield, certified candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Material Science and Engineering, please come forward. Dr. Dangerfield will be hooted by Dr. Shabal. Will Luis Fabian Pena Orduna, certified candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Chemistry, please come forward. Dr. Pena Orduna will be hooted by Dr. Shabal. Will Muhammad Rizal Karim, certified candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Mechanical Engineering, please come forward. Dr. Karim will be hooted by Dr. Chiang. Will Akshay Potnuro, certified candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Mechanical Engineering, please come forward. Dr. Potnuro will be hooted by Dr. Tadise. Will Zhaowei Zhu, certified candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Mechanical Engineering, please come forward. Dr. Zhu will be hooted by Dr. Balsara.
I now invite Dr. Perkul, Dean of the Naveen Jindal School of Management, to come forward and assist the Executive Vice President and Dr. Sarkar, Director of PhD Programs in the School of Management, to call each candidate.
Will Zhujuan Li, certified candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in International Management Studies, please come forward. Dr. Li will be hooded by Dr. Sang. Will Hui Nguyen, certified candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in International Management Studies, please come forward. Dr. Nguyen will be hooded by Dr. Lin. Will Yulia Vorotintseva, certified candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Management Science, please come forward. Dr. Vorotintseva will be hooded by Dr. Han Han.
I now invite Dr. Novak, Dean of the School of Natural Sciences and Mathematics, to come forward and assist the Executive Vice President, and Dr. Gonzalez, Associate Dean, to call each candidate.
Will Sampath Bandara Alajakun, certified candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Chemistry, please come forward? Dr. Alajakun will be hooded by Dr. Smaldon. Will Catherine Benavides, certified candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Chemistry, please come forward? Dr. Benavides will be hooded by Dr. Chan. Will Chandima Bulumula, certified candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Chemistry, please come forward? Dr. Bulumula will be hooded by Dr. Stefan. Will Ruvanti Kularatni, certified candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Chemistry, please come forward? Dr. Kularatni will be hooded by Dr. Stefan. Will Chu Shen, certified candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Chemistry, please come forward? Dr. Chen will be hooded by Dr. Gaston Smith. Will Manduchani Dharmawardana, certified candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Chemistry, please come forward? Dr. Dharmawardana will also be hooded by Dr. Gaston Smith. Will Xiaobo Li, certified candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Chemistry, please come forward? Dr. Li will be hooded by Dr. Gaston Smith. Will Marisa Lynn Higgins, certified candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Chemistry, please come forward? Dr. Higgins will be hooded by Dr. Ganay. Will Rangana Aloka Jayawikmarami, certified candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Chemistry, please come forward? Dr. Jayawikmarami will be hooded by Dr. Ferraris. Will Sarah Karimi, certified candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Chemistry, please come forward? Dr. Karimi will be hooded by Dr. Pantano. Will Chao Long, certified candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Chemistry, please come forward? Dr. Long will be hooded by Dr. Lee. Will Ying Zhu, certified candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Chemistry, please come forward? Dr. Zhu will be hooded by Dr. Zheng. Will Ko Yao Ling, certified candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Physics, please come forward? Dr. Lin will be hooded by Dr. Swinker. Will Wei Kang Ling, certified candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Physics, please come forward? Dr. Lin will be hooded by Dr. Ishak Bushaki. Will Armando Andres Maldonado, certified candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Physics, please come forward? Dr. Maldonado will be hooded by Dr. Novak. Will Alahi Motoyarifar, certified candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Physics, please come forward? Dr. Motoyarifar will be hooded by Dr. Lee. Will Juan Edgardo Servín, certified candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Physics, please come forward? Dr. Servín will be hooded by Dr. Kessin. Will Francis Bilson Darku, certified candidate for the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Statistics, please come forward? Dr. Bilson Darku will be hooded by Dr. Kananiski.
Now, everyone please rise and join with me in applauding your spouses, families, friends, and loved ones for their support on your journey to this day.
All right. So as we conclude, please be seated. As we conclude this joyous occasion, let me again congratulate our newest doctoral recipients on their highly significant achievement. One of the greatest rewards as a faculty member and as a graduate dean is awarding new doctorates. As new PhD alumni, you have earned the privilege to wear the hood and the academic regalia at all future academic occasions, and in so doing will represent UT Dallas with distinction. As graduates of UT Dallas, I encourage you to stay connected with your mentors, academic unions, departments, programs, and schools. Continue sharing your talents and accomplishments and working with us to mentor the next generation of students. Make sure you don't inflict pain, though. It has been our privilege to work with you, and whether you like it or not, you have become part of us and the UT Dallas community. By staying in touch with us and allowing us to continue to be part of your lives, we can continue to rejoice with you in your successes. And along with your parents, needless to say, take full credit for your successes. Speaking of rejoicing in your future successes, it is wonderful that your family and friends are here for this doctoral hooding ceremony. Your accomplishments today is truly a joint effort, and you could not have succeeded without the encouragement and sacrifices in supporting your success. So I hope you take the time out today to thank them and enjoy the rest of the day with them. And as we are expressing appreciation, I must finish by expressing mine to those assisting with this, bringing the ceremony together. I thank the stage party, the staff members from my office who have been working very diligently over the past few weeks to pull this off, hopefully without a hitch. And special thanks to our events coordinator, Leela Forreton. I don't know if Leela is around. She must be gone out now. And I'm sure you have met your graduate readers at some point, and do want to thank them who read all your dissertations, Amanda Avalashit and Josephine Green. Now let us recess to the lobby, out the doors and to the left for a reception hosted by the university. I ask that the audience remain seated as first the stage party and then the newly minted doctorates and their supervisors process out. The audience can then join them to continue the celebration. And again, my wholehearted congratulations to each and every one of you. All right.